when we say at Anaadi Foundation, coming to what we do here, we have, of course, various initiatives for the spread of Indian knowledge systems. Of course, there is Dharma Gurukulam, which is a residential homeschool for children aged 8 years and above, focusing on Sanskritam, Ayurveda, Bharatiya Ganita, Nakshatra, Vidya, Paristhiti Vijnana, and Go Seva. Go Seva is a very integral part of the daily routine here, and we have seen phenomenal, growth in the children when they actually interact with cows, and that is something that children miss in the regular education process or by living in a city. In fact, whenever I meet parents who ask me, like, how do we, okay, I'm not able to send them to a Gurukulam. What do I do at home? Of course, I do talk to them about, teaching them some Ayurveda or Ganita or whatever. But then I definitely remember to tell them that please introduce them to cows. So even if you can't have a Goshala at home, take them to a Goshala, let them be with the cows for some time. So that actually brings a lot of sattvic quality in the students, in the children, and even for adults for that matter. A lot of changes happen because the essential microbes that are there in the body of the cow or in the tongue of the cow when they lick, or the milk of the cow, the microbiome that is there is very essential for the human growth. And in fact, to boost our immunity, to lead a life of positivity, to live a life that robust health, all this depends on the products or the what Gomata has to give us. And hence, being in an ambience where cows are there is very important. So even if there is a mainstream school, having a small Goshala where teachers and students and parents can interact with the cow has become very important. A lot of research is there. Even without our research, our Shastras themselves point to that. So very important aspect. So at the Gurukulam here, we started the Gurukulam in 2021. And it has been quite, for many years now, we had been thinking about a Gurukulam. But as I told you, one is, of course, capacity building, having the necessary resources to do that, and also mustering some courage, as you would say, because you'll have to figure out many things when you want to start a Gurukulam. After we started, then we sort of understood that, it can be made simple so that many people can actually start their own Gurukulams. And of course, we have Bharati Vijnana Pravesha, IKS books and online courses for children, educators, and parents. You have it on the URL anaadi.org/IKS books. And Sadvidya, you have, which is an early Indic education, NCF-based decolonized preschool curriculum and content. And you have we have our indigenous knowledge system. So what we did was that very recently we started the Center for Indigenous Knowledge Systems, so that we don't stop with the Indian knowledge system. Globally, there are, in fact, even in India, there's so much tribal knowledge that is available, be it Odisha, be it Gujarat, be it Tamil Nadu. You have so much wealth of knowledge in the tribal regions, very, some of them uncorrupt by, the larger civilization. So we started the Center for Indigenous Knowledge Systems, where we will be interacting with groups across the globe that are working towards reviving their own knowledge systems, so that it becomes a holistic effort. Just as many of us are working in the country, there are also many people working across the globe. There can be a lot of synergy that is there, a lot of synthesis that can happen, so that it becomes one concerted movement globally. And so that global learners are benefited by the exchange of these thoughts. Something has worked here, something has worked elsewhere. So there's a lot of scope to learn and share as well. So Dharma Gurukulam, as I told you, it started in 2021 for children aged 8 years and above, focusing on Sanskritam, Yoga, Ayurveda, Bharatiya Ganita, Nakshatra, Vidya, Paristhiti Vijnana. And we combine it with National Institute of Open Schooling curriculum as well at appropriate grade levels. And the daily schedule focuses on the development of the Panchakosha. There are so many efforts that are going on throughout the country to offer a holistic educational process. And the Panchakosha framework, it's a very useful thing that comes from the Upanishads that talk about the holistic perspective of an individual. At the end of the day, we are the divine Atman. We are that supreme consciousness encased in the koshas. And the more and more we identify us as the body or the mind or cognitive or the intellect, it can be a very limited experience of life. Only when we realize that we are that supreme consciousness, we have a fulfilled life. And we say that, there is, one can say that we have attained to the state of jnana, or we have attained to mukti, kaivalya, many descriptions of it. But then at the end of the day, for Vyavahara, we have to look at ourselves as encased in the Panchakosha, interacting with this reality. And hence, development along all the koshas has become important. So our Gurukulam schedule caters to all the koshas. And guest lectures and internships to bridge the gap between modern and ancient scientific content. So we have the Gurukulam children do internship for 2 to 3 days in some of the Indian knowledge systems centers at various IITs, and also in Ayurveda, retreat centers or Ayurveda hospitals. They sit with the Vaidya, look at how things are diagnosed. And we also have Vaidyas visiting us, Siddha Vaidyas visiting us, many practitioners visiting us, scholars visiting us, people from the Himalayas, Himalayan yogis as well visiting us, so that the children are not cut off from what is happening in this world. So many people have this question: if my child goes to a Gurukulam, will they be isolated from this world? They need not be isolated from this world, because in this connected world, no more can we afford to be isolation. Even if you go run away to the Himalayas or you run away to the forest, you're not isolated anymore, because that's how the world is. It is quite connected that way. There is so much exchange of knowledge that is happening. There's so much synthesis of knowledge system that is happening, that you put your child in a Gurukulam, they will definitely not be isolated. At least here, definitely they're not isolated, because there is a constant exchange of knowledge, content, and experience that is happening here. So children get to spend times in top-notch research labs, interacting with researchers there. Whatever seva that they can do in the research lab, that also they do. And encouraged to continue education through online degree programs and pursuing traditional education parallelly. So, for example, there are a lot of online degrees that have emerged with multiple entry, multiple exit options. So we encourage our Gurukulam children, after they complete their grade 12, to take up some of these online degree programs, so that they can be here at the Gurukulam, pursue parallelly, study of the Shastras, at the same time enroll in these degree programs. So that way we have a few children, going, who will be going to such online degree programs in a way very soon, actually. And what skills do we focus on? Of course, Gopalana skills. They will be able to comfortably take care of cows in today's times. In those times, it was not considered to be a skill. People would scold us. You're not fit for education, go take care of a cow. But in today's world, we do see that it's a very, very important, essential, cool skill for that matter. So Gopalana skills, they will definitely have. They will be able to teach traditional knowledge, be it Sanskritam, be it, say even Nyaya Shastra for that matter. They will be able to teach traditional knowledge. In fact, the children here will very soon be capable of setting their own Gurukulams and learning spaces which are based on the Indian knowledge systems. And simple primary healthcare through yoga, Siddha, Ayurveda, therapy for Pashu, for animals, for Vriksha, for plants, and for Manushya, for humans, they will be able to do. Simple, herbal medicines they will be able to prepare, or understand what the problem the person is going through, and accordingly suggest them the course of action, right? Of course, the Vaidyas will be there and all that, but these children, they will be able to decode the health of oneself and the others through these frameworks. And children will also be able to enroll in any higher education program, Indian knowledge system based program, or any mainstream education program, because the NIOS provides scope for that. And they will also be eventually able to contribute to IKS research in top-notch higher education institutions. That is a very crucial aspect. It's not about one doing swadhyaya and one just being locked up in the four walls of one's room or one's learning space. It is important to also utilize this knowledge to push the frontiers and boundaries of what is happening in research in the world. And all over the world, we have traveled to many, many countries. My husband, he's an adjunct professor of practice at IIT Delhi. I also co-teach courses there. I also travel to different countries giving lectures. And we do see that many researchers in different countries are looking for critical insights, which are actually lying in our Indian knowledge systems. And there are not enough people to decode this and talk to them about it. So we need to create individuals who are immersed, who are rooted in these knowledge systems, but are also capable of effectively communicating these knowledge systems on global platforms as well. And that is also one of the goals of Dharma Gurukulam. And to be able to comfortably communicate, at the same time participate in cutting edge research by bringing in perspectives from our shastras as well as modern science and technology. So what is the content and pedagogy that is followed here? When I say presenting from the Dharma Gurukulam context, what I also wish to share is that anybody who wishing to start a Gurukulam or homeschool their children, some of these elements can be integrated comfortably. So you have Bhasha, where we teach Sanskritam, English, and of course, since we are in Tamil Nadu, the children naturally pick up Tamil. Mainly we focus on spoken Tamil. And Matrubhasha, we see to it that they don't forget their Matrubhasha because they are just immersed in this environment. So what we do is that we have timely interventions so that they just remember and they're able to read and write their Matrubhasha comfortably. Okay. And because we have children from different states, we have children from Gujarat, we have children from Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, Andhra, Tamil Nadu, and other parts of the country. So to comfort, so they learn Tamil just being in this environment, but at the same time, their Matrabhasha is also kept active. And Sanskritam is one of the key focus areas where they are systematically taken through spoken Sanskritam grammar, and in a typical pathway. And one of the differentiating factors here is that Sanskritam is also taught through plays and dramas. So in a given year, the children, they enact different plays and dramas throughout the year. So through those dramas and plays, they end up learning Sanskritam much better. That is what has been our experience. So the acharyas here themselves write the plays, or it could be based on the popular kavyas adapted to make it simple and accessible to the children here. And health sciences, we have yoga, Ayurveda, Siddha, a little bit based on, because we are located in a Siddha Kshetra, we have numerous visiting Siddha Vaidyas, so they impart their knowledge, which is suitable to children. And of course, contemporary biology as well. And wherever there is a possibility to find research areas, intersecting research areas, for example, yoga and neuroscience, yoga and cognition, Ayurveda and mental health, and yoga and psychology. We blend these things so that there are a lot of research papers that have been published talking about the benefits of yoga on the body, mind, intellect, and all that. So some of the research, it's not presented as research work, but it is presented as benefits of doing yoga by bringing in contemporary biology and the yogic aspects as well. And we have mathematics, we have Ganita and Nakshatra Vidya. In fact, this pathway is something that is really missing in today's educational process. Children do not wonder about the stars in the sky. This is something that's very close to my heart. I keep telling the acharyas here that definitely there needs to be a curiosity that needs to be kindled with respect to the stars, because that is where, that is where many of the stories of origin can be discovered. And looking at the sky can be fascinating. There's so much that one can learn. Patanjali Maharishi beautifully mentions in the Yoga Sutra, when one does samyama on some of the stars and planets, one gets to know the entire cosmological events. So if you look at the traditional texts, they all take the path where Ganita is spoken about. Say Aryabhatiya, if you take, there is mathematics that is spoken about, and this mathematics leads to astronomy, right? And hence this becomes a very important aspect here at the Gurukulam. The children learn Ganita, which eventually leads into Nakshatra Vidya as well. And of course, they are introduced to the Panchangam, the Indian calendar. There are numerous gaps in the Gregorian calendar. If you say, if you take a particular day, it does not exactly reflect the cosmological events, right? There's so much enhancement that can be done on the Gregorian calendar. But when we adopt an Indian calendar, of course, in the Indian calendar, there are a lot of variations. So much more research needs to be done to make it accurate. That said, nevertheless, Indian calendar at least represents some natural phenomena that is going on in the sky at that point in time. So introducing the Indian calendar to children is a very important thing, especially to decolonize the mind. the language and the calendar. These two are important aspects of decolonizing the Indian mind, whatever is prevalent today. The moment they are able to look at the Tithi, Nakshatra, Vara, Rashi, and all these aspects that are there, in fact, Yoga, Karana, whatever is there in the Pancha Anga, and they are able to look at the sunrise, calculate the mean position of the sun, look at their latitude and longitude. The moment they become aware of this, they actually become very enriched in knowledge. And introducing Nakshatra Vidya is very important. And of course, we do introduce contemporary math in parallel to whatever is there in Ganita. So that way, a child, if the child is learning fractions, the Indian methods of fraction operations, as well as the contemporary mathematics, which is there, say, in the open schooling curriculum or NCERT curriculum, that is also introduced. So that way, the child is able to learn both in parallel. And in fact, time and again, we do see that children resist from doing the contemporary math operations because they find the Ganita just too fascinating. Because it can help you calculate in a jiffy. You just learn the sutra, apply it, and there you go. The answer is ready-made. You don't even have to lift your pen to do that in many circumstances. But of course, to satisfy the world or to get to know about what is there in contemporary math, they're introduced to all these concepts. Anyway, for the NIOS exams, practically it is useful. And sustainability, eco-friendly living is there on the Gurukulam campus. Very minimal usage of chemicals on the body. And we also, a lot of Gau Seva is insisted upon. Very minimal, only in emergencies we use LPG. Suppose something, there's no time, we use LPG gas. Otherwise, the children themselves, work on many of the Gau Seva, and the ashramites, the acharyas, and the senior children, they engage in preparing logs of cow dung, which is what we use it as, like a fire would be use it. So that way, it's a very sustainable way of utilizing energy. And you would be amazed at at how the children and the volunteers here have made cow dung bricks, very sturdy bricks. You can build a small kutir with that. So very minimal costs. You just have to maintain the cow properly, and you can use that. So all this krishi, of course, is integrated. Panchagavyam, Jivamritam based on cows is used, and there is daily Agni Kriya that the children perform. They do japa, and then in front of the Agni, and the ash that is generated is sprinkled. Of course, one is it is consumed as medicine. The second thing, it is sprinkled throughout the ashram, and we have had a bumper harvest of mangoes this season. So that way, in fact, the children got to enjoy the phala of their own hard work. So that way, it's a very integrated system. It is very relevant because one thing, it takes care of the health of the child. It takes care of many aspects, right? And analytical thinking, you have Niti, Nyaya, Arthashastra. We are continuously creating content, writing books on some of these knowledge systems. For the senior children, this is all being introduced. And you have values from the Itihasa and Bhagavad Gita. And it's a cyclical learning. Pratyaksha, directly perceiving, is also happening. They're also drawing inferences. When they do Vata, Pitta, Kapha, they're drawing inferences. And of course, Shabda Pramana is also there. This is the epistemology, Shabda Pramana. Whatever the Acharya or the teacher says, they imbibe that knowledge until it is experimentally verified. They have Shraddha in what the Acharya says. So they just, grasp it for now. But then eventually they put it into practice, they apply it. So the source text verses are there. They apply that, and eventually it becomes embodied knowing. There is no other way that the child will actually decode that. So eventually they attain perfection even in their decoding capability. So as I told you, the Gurukulam education here is based on the Pancha Kosha. Now the NCP, NEP, NCF also talks about the koshas, Pancha Koshiya Vikas. So we have Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vinyanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. So for the Annamaya Kosha, which is to do with the physical structures, we have Asana Abhyasa. Daily we have yogic practices, a simple set of practices as well as advanced practices for senior children. And Ayurveda is built into the system. They have good awareness of Ayurveda, and yogic understanding of their Sharira is given, and appropriate samskaras to keep their body clean, to keep their body healthy. Even decoding their health issues is also happening through the framework of yoga and Ayurveda. So that way, the Annamaya Kosha, the physical structure, is taken care through this educational process. The Pranamaya Kosha is, of course, having prana. We have seen that this contrast happens when children from the regular educational process, they are here on a day's visit. There is a huge difference in the prana shakti of the children who sit in a brick and mortar classroom versus children who are actually out in the open learning with lot of beings like trees and animals and all that. So pranayama is one important component, and of course Agni Kriya, daily they work with Agni, and simple upasana mantra japa is given to them. And of course, and the knowledge of the pancha pranas, prana, apana, vyana, udana, and samana is given, so that they're able to decode which prana is deficient that day. If their digestion is not happening, they know that the samana vayu has been affected, and then they decode what is the reason for this being affected. And it makes them very wise that way. It makes them very judicious in say consuming food, in engaging in activity, even in talking. All this they become very mindful. But at the same time, the innocence of the child is also protected. It's not like you come and then you find them just talking about in a theoretical manner all these knowledge systems. Nothing like that. They will be joyously playing. They will be in their childlike mode throughout the day. At the same time, in a simple manner, all these knowledge systems are built in. And Manomaya Kosha, interacting with other species, Go Seva and connect to Prithvi, and Samaja Seva. Every Sashti, we do Annadanam to the villages around. We go to Palani and do Annadanam. So that way the children are also involved in providing Annadanam. And when rural children come to the ashram, the children here interact with them and share the knowledge that they have acquired. So that way, Samaja Seva is also ensured that cultivates appropriate emotions in the child. Developing appropriate emotions is important. One should neither be too cold, not be too entangled in emotions. Appropriate emotions are needed, for which Go Seva, interacting with other people, interpersonal relationships, having discussion groups. All these has enabled this process. And Vijnanamaya Kosha is to do with characterization, classification on all the knowledge components. Ganita, Padartha Vijnana is introduced. Tantra Yukti, research methodologies are introduced. And this creates a ruchi and rasa for various fields of knowledge. And developing an eye for arts and sciences is also done. And tools to hone the Jnanendriya, that is also done. And also appropriate demonstrations and evaluations are given. And there are a lot of eminent people who visit and also interact with the children. So simple demonstrations that to show their skills is also given, so that becomes an opportunity for all the children to get together and prepare accordingly. At the same time, also embody that particular knowledge system. So it is not theoretical, it is very much integrated and digested by the child, and there is enough time is given to digest that. And Anandamaya Kosha is to do with experiencing that inherent happiness. So Japa, Seva, Mauna, and many frameworks of Vedanta are also introduced. And in fact, for the senior children, we also introduce frameworks from Nyaya Shastra, Tarka Shastra, or Nyaya Tarka, and Artha Shastra, Niti Shastra, and bringing in Vidura Niti, Bhartahari Niti Shatakam, and also Tirukural, and many of these are in Shanti Parva of the Mahabharata. Many of these principles are actually discussed, and leadership skills from the Ramayana. All these are brought out in order to enhance one's capability, one's outlook towards the world. And at the same time, they also get opportunities to for parents to come here and spend time with their children, parents to be part of our various programs, so that they also get to know what is happening at the larger vision of the foundation. So that way, it's a very interconnected process. The children become the hosts eventually. They actually take over this environment. They are the hosts in this environment. So we also have developed what is called the Sadvidya curriculum, which is an early Indic curriculum focusing on the preschool ages. So we have many of these Shravana and Manana and Nididhyasana based aspects. So the key aspects of the Sadvidya include values. We have Kantapata, we have foundational literacy in terms of language and sounds. We have opportunities to observe and learn, modeling and mathematical literacy and early age aptitude, samskaras to cultivate the necessary habits. So all this is part of our Sadvidya manual. And as I told you, it is freely downloadable on the URL anaadi.org/IKS-books. Okay, you can download it from there. And a curriculum that is there for about 220 or 30 days for ages 3, 4, and 5. It's a 300-page book, complete list of activities that the teacher can do, a homeschooling parent can do, bringing in Indian knowledge system, Sanskritam, English, Matrubhasha, numeracy, literacy skills together with values and ecological insight and also self-reliance. All these are part of the Sadvidya curriculum, and hundreds of poems and verses for the child to learn from our own Shastras are also given, so that the memory component is enhanced and eventually the child understands the meaning as one grows in one's life. So key subjects: Sanskritam, mother tongue, English, yoga, krida, parayana, ganitam, and art, craft, and IKS. These are all part of the Sadvidya curriculum. And some of the benefits of the Sadvidya curriculum: Sanskritam has its neurocognitive benefits. And Ganitam, of course, it builds speed math capabilities. And again, it builds problem solving capabilities. One is able to translate real world problems into mathematical problems, eventually turn it into computational problems as well. So the senior children at the Gurukulam, they also learn how to translate some of the mathematical problems into computational problems. And Ayurveda, of course, it brings a lot of awareness on one's own body, and also awareness on the various herbs that are there in the environment and the uses of some of these herbs. Nakshatra Vidya, it helps you to see patterns in the sky, how the sky is traveling every day, moving every day. And it also builds a visual spatial faculties. It enhances and complex cognitive processing, immersive learning through careful observation. And Paristhiti Vijnana, it talks about the Pancha Mahabhutas and how this nature is interconnected with us, how the actions of man impact society and nature, how nature benefits our lives, bringing a lot of frameworks from Indian ecology, including simple texts like, say, Krishi Parashara. Some of it is at least introduced, not just as Sadvidya, but also at the Gurukulam. Okay? And Itihasa and Niti, lot of stories filled with to nurture the samskaras and also to reinforce some of the values are presented. Yoga, of course, it builds a robust body, a robust mind. It also brings a lot of joy in one's life, and one is able to take care of very high prana throughout the day. Okay. So with this, I come to the end of this presentation, and you would see that in order to solve today's problems, we need a holistic educational process. And this holistic educational process can be brought out only when all the dimensions are focused upon. And there are so many research problems that are waiting to be solved in the areas of healthcare, in the education for that matter, in ecology, in economics. And the answer to some of these problems also lies in our Indian knowledge systems. And of course,